And what's up, guys? Welcome to the Lon Yop Show. I'm John and got my dad on the line. What's up, dude?
Oh, not much.
A big Friday here in South Louisiana. It is July 8th, 2022. The Lon Yop Show is a long-form podcast. I like to sit here, talk with my friends, family, whoever I want to cut up with, have a couple drinks, and talk tonight about more current events. News of the day, I want to talk about some crazy things that transpired over the past week or so, where some people been acting the fool in New York. And if you were still a cop right now in one of these major cities, you're not a good cop. I have no respect for you. The good ones all left those major cities by now because nobody has their back, so the only ones still there are just doing it because their superiors told them, and they'll arrest anybody. More on that coming up, but I mean, these people are hoodlums, career criminals, and the police are arresting people who defend themselves, and then the corrupt prosecutors are pressing charges on people who defend themselves, and they let the criminals go. That's what I want to talk about tonight. But have you seen any of the videos? I sent you some. Were you able to watch any of them?
Yes, I've watched them, and boy, there's some doozies.
And I'll play them here live. I got them from Daily Mail, so not the original. So we'll tip our hat to Daily Mail for both of the particular videos I want to show tonight, and we'll talk about it and extrapolate a little bit. Again, if you are new to this, the Lon Yop Show is a long-form podcast. We'll probably be going an hour, hour and a half. If you don't have the attention span, I'm sorry, but you can get the Lon Yop Show. I'm recording on my personal Facebook page live. We save the video. It goes on BitChute.com. It goes on Rumble. It goes on YouTube. And the audio gets saved and goes everywhere you get your audio podcast. So welcome aboard. The Lon Yop Show means... Lon Yop means a little something extra in Cajun French. We're South Louisiana based. Again, I am John. Got my dad on the line. We're doing that through Skype. And before we get started, I just want to show you. This is what I decided to go with tonight. It's a Don Julio Reposado private cask. So it's not the Añejo. It's not as aged as long as an Añejo. This is a private cask, 1942 Tequila Reserve de Don Julio Reposado. That was an awful accent. Probably put too much French in there. It's been aged 10 months in a single cask, hand-selected by their distillers. Let me get that up in the camera right here so you can see. It really is a beautiful tequila, but it's only a Repo. It's not an Añejo, so it's not as full-bodied as I really like. But nevertheless, I'll pour a little bit here if I can work my way around the boom mic. And or the mic boom, that is. If you can see the color, it still looks pretty clear. It's got a little hint of yellow to it because it's not super aged. As much as an Añejo, only 10 months there. Oh no, we're dripping on the bottle. You can't have that kind of spillage, man. That's a bad pour, John. What are you doing?
Alcohol abuse.
Wasting. Alcohol abuse. And I got some limes cut up here. I like a little lime.
Did you hear of Jack Daniel's new whiskey?
He's a new one? Is
Yeah.
it a flavored whiskey?
And I don't really know. I just heard it on.
I'm
not sure if it's out yet.
Yeah, they're always releasing new flavors.
The highest proof whiskey.
Oh, really?
I think it's yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how much proof it is. It's I don't know if it's not 80% alcohol.
That would be 160 proof then, I believe.
That's about what it is.
Yeah. Woo. It can't have much flavor because at a certain point, if it gets such a high proof, you don't have as much flavor in it.
Right.
I don't know. But my goodness, that would
But it's a new one Jack Daniels come out with.
that'll be interesting. I'll find it if I can get a hold of it. I'll buy it. You know I will.
Yeah. You'll have to Google it and see which one, the newest one, but and they'll tell you more information about it. But I heard it on the radio.
Okay, let me take a little sip of this. Man, you get it on the exhale. You get after you swallow the tequila, you get a little bit of the barrel as it comes back up. That's actually mostly what you're tasting. I love tequila so much, so I'm not going to get as many flavoring notes of this because I just really enjoy tequila, so it just tastes like tequila to me. But it's not as aged as much, but you do get the barrel. I don't know if it said oak, but it kind of tasted like that on the back end a little bit. Single cast, nuanced flavor varies from barrel to barrel. Yeah, they're not saying what type of barrel it is, but possibly oak in there is what I'm tasting. But again, it's not as rich and sweet as an añejo would be. This is more medium balanced. The clear tequilas, if you want to shoot them, that's cool. And most people like to put that in their margaritas and stuff. But if you want to tequila with a little more flavor, a little more body and substance to it, I recommend añejo, but reposados are right in the middle. But anyways, that's this bottle right here by Don Julio. It's not cheap. That'll run you probably about, depending on where you buy it, anywhere from $30 to $50, I think, maybe more, but something like that. All right, let's get to the show. Let's see if we. I don't want to neglect anybody here. First, I want to see if we have anybody in the chat. No messages so far, but again, I'd like to tell our viewers we are lagging a little bit here on my personal internet, but I think the video is going just fine. It's just on my back end. But feel free. You're watching this on Facebook via my personal Facebook page. Give us a thumbs up and chat. Let us know whatever you want. And tell us whatever you want. Carry on the conversation with us. Let's get started with this first video. I'm going to switch to my browser view here. This was the one that happened in Manhattan. So there's a fry restaurant. I didn't know they build a restaurant just around fries, but I imagine kind of like poutine. You fry French fries and then you can put whatever the hell you want on them, right? And so this happened at a fry restaurant. Also, I think this happened at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, you leave the bar, you leave the club, you are heavily intoxicated. A lot of people go to Taco Bell. Some people, I guess, go downtown and get some fries with a bunch of junk on them and greasy, that good greasy junk, maybe help your hangovers or something. So it's a bunch of drunk women, and the story goes, as you can see here, they asked for extra sauce on their fries, and the worker told them this would cost $1.75 extra because extra sauce costs extra, especially in Joe Biden's economy. Right now everything costs. So $1.75 if you want extra sauce. And these drunk women, now granted, hey, they're drunk and they see one act up and they want to follow suit, but this is what they did. If we can get this to play here. Bell Fries in New York City. Throwing it at the plexiglass. That's not going to shatter. Oh. Throws it underneath at the worker who's filming all of this. nothing's too terrible so far. Now it starts to get bad. They're actually assaulting the worker by throwing things, breaking glass bottles now. This is when it gets bad. And you got some twerking going on over there because that's teaching them. Now they're ripping down the plexiglass. Just throwing stuff. I mean, okay. I don't know how much damage they actually caused monetarily.
But I bet you it's more than $1.75.
It's more than $1.75. That's right. The alarm's still going off. And they're still throwing things at the employee. If you just want to throw things at the plexiglass, which I think they did not necessarily on purpose, that's one thing. But if they're laughing through it, okay, they're enjoying it. They're having fun here. So they're not just mad. Now they're acting up because they think it's fun. It's funny to them. And then you got people filming in the background. They're yelling at them. They're egging them on here, you know. They're instigating all of this. So that's the video there. I'm not going to follow up on the article on that. I just wanted to show that because that happened a few days ago. And give me your impressions just on that video. What you think?
It's a bunch of thugs that, I mean, they don't know how to act.
Act like animals.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to cost them a lot more than paying that $1.75.
Well, you think maybe.
Oh yeah, they all got arrested.
I didn't look it up to see if they did get arrested.
I think I heard they did get arrested.
Well, good, because things got to change. So, I showed that video to my wife. And she asked me, why didn't that worker call the cops? And I guess they did. I guess somebody did. They set the alarm.
Well, they set off the alarm. So if you hear the alarm, so if they set off the alarm, I'm sure it went off in the police station. You know, they were notified that there was something going on there.
And she also, she asked why didn't that employee do something or defend themselves, just letting them go wild like that. And I told her, I said, well, you haven't been following the news and what's been going on in these big cities, these mainly Democrat-run, heavy liberal cities, where these district attorneys are funded by George Soros, and no, that's not a conspiracy theory. You can find the money, and they are funding this sort of stuff, and these woke prosecutors, these district attorneys, they are not prosecuting the criminals. They're letting them go. You seen in San Francisco, they passed a law that they would not arrest someone for theft for anything of less than like $999. So as long as it was under $1,000, they would not arrest you for theft.
Right.
Okay? So what happened? Well, that means you could go steal anything up to $1,000, $999 worth. But then what they were doing was they would go in as a whole mob. So if you and 3 or 4 of your partners went, if you all stole a bunch of stuff, you could say, well, it's less than $1,000 per person, and you could just ransack the whole store, which you've seen them do it. And it was a lot of cosmetic stores and like Rite Aids or CVS's and stuff like that they did. But I mean, but it's still going on today. And these prosecutors are not prosecuting them.
Yeah. Well,
Now, I want to. We had this discussion before, and I'm going to ask you here on this show because you were a member of a sheriff's posse, and
right.
I have lost a ton of respect for law enforcement. Now, I do want to make clear, I don't mean all law enforcement, but when I see stuff that says back the blue, I hesitate, okay? I hesitate. I don't
Okay.
necessarily fully support that because in these big cities, I don't believe there's any good cops left. All the good cops in these big cities, like New York City, Manhattan, where all this stuff is going on, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, all these cops that were actually good cops have retired, got a different job, just quit and got a different job, or they work at a different police station, a different police department somewhere else in a rural area. I think there's still good cops in the rural areas, but in these big Democrat run cities, if they try to do the right thing as a law enforcement officer, the DAs and all the higher ups don't have their back because they're all woke. You do
Right.
the right thing as a cop, you're going to go to jail. You're going to
Yeah.
prison because it's the criminals are right. And people don't have a right to self-defense. So you do the right thing as a cop, you're the one that's the bad guy, and they don't have your back. You are going to go to jail, and they ain't going to do nothing to stop it. So
Right.
the ones that are still in power there, the cops who were still employed in all these big woke cities, are the ones that are not going to do the right thing. They're not going to stand up for what's right. They're just going to follow the orders that the big higher-ups tell them to do, and that's arrest people who are trying to defend themselves, arrest people who are trying to run their small business while these thugs are trying to shut it down. That's who they're going to go after. There was a story a while back during the Summer of Love, mostly peaceful riots that were going on, and there was a big mob. They read something on the internet about this guy. This guy was at home with his family, his wife and children, normal day, not doing anything, and they're in their house doing family stuff. This big mob goes to their property, starts raising hell, breaking shit, burning shit, graffiti everywhere. So he calls the cops because he's feeling threatened. The cops show up. They talk to the quote-unquote protesters, the rioters outside, and they decide, well, you know what? There's a bunch of protesters outside, and there's only one man that they're mad at inside. It's a lot easier to arrest this guy than to deal with him outside. So they go into the man's house and arrest him, and he did nothing but sit inside, and he was the one that called the police, and they went in and they arrested him to appease the mob outside of the house, because that would have been a lot more difficult to deal with. And
Right.
I want to hear your perspective from someone who is a member of a sheriff's posse, from a law enforcement officer perspective, because that is my perspective. All right, I'll shut up a bit and let you go.
Okay. Well, when they say back the blue, it's back the blue, but we need the judges, the lawyers, we need them to back the blue as a law enforcement officer. Okay, they can have 10 guys there, all of them armed, shooting at you. You shoot back, you hit one of them, you're gonna be brought in. They're gonna take your badge. You under suspension and into further investigation. In other words, you are guilty until proven innocent. Okay? The thugs, they do all kind of stuff. They bring them to jail the next night. they out on bail.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's no place in jails anymore. There's not enough
They're
room.
full.
I mean, and why? Because it's too easy in jail. You know, when these people go, okay, I had a niece and a nephew, like you know,
Mm-hmm.
that went to prison. They would call me more than any other family member. They had access to phone. Hey, what you doing? You know, we ain't doing nothing in here. Or I said, well, what y'all doing? Oh, well, I was playing video games, and then I'm gonna watch a football game after a while.
Yeah.
Well, you're in prison. You living better than 90% of the people that's out. You know, so prison is it's just not hard. And right now they have a big old thing to where, I mean, if you didn't murder nobody, there's no more room in the jail. So if you didn't murder somebody or rape somebody or, chances are we're going to hurry up and post you a bail where you can get out.
And it got worse with
Because,
COVID because they were worried about
right,
spreading COVID around, right?
right. And so, I mean, and there is, I'm not gonna say there isn't any bad officer because there's some bad policemen, but there's some good ones. Just like that lady, if you think back a few months back, a year back, something, when the lady went to grab her taser,
Mm-hmm.
but she grabbed a gun instead and shot. You know, a lot of people say, well, you know the difference between a taser and a gun, and you don't understand the stress
Yeah.
that an officer goes in when they make an arrest, and you got 100 people hollering at you and screaming at you, and they didn't do nothing wrong. They didn't do nothing wrong. What you doing? What you doing? You know, it. Let me tell you something. A full-time policeman, uh, it's not worth the money they get paid.
I agree. They should all quit.
And
They should all
yeah,
quit.
let me tell you. Remember when Katrina hit?
They want to defund
Okay.
the police. They want to do away with the police officers. Well, I think the police should
Yeah.
just all quit. Just
Well,
quit and see.
the mayor of New Orleans couldn't do anything because they
No.
were looting everything. Okay.
They didn't have power.
So,
The whole city was out of power for months,
right.
but they were still stealing TVs like they would be able to watch
Right.
them.
So what did they do? They had it cleaned up they had them stopped within a couple of days once she or he, whatever, the mayor at that time, let's see how you say that. Well, she said martial law.
Right.
Okay, which don't worry about the policemen. We're bringing in the National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the National Guard don't have to ask questions.
Right.
Well, when they saw these people armed, they're not regular policemen. They used to fight in wars. Well, then they stopped looting all that. You know, just like all these riots and stuff. It's simple. You should have the National Guard come through. But how many people have you heard that's been arrested for rioting and for looting, not rioting, looting all the stores and when like George Floyd was killed and they just that has nothing to do with these people, their family businesses. They destroying them and stealing all the stuff.
Most of the people that were there were not even from there. They were bussed in. They drove in. They wrecked a community that wasn't theirs. Most of the people doing that had no idea who George Floyd was. They were rioting. They probably didn't even hear the story. They were just there to riot.
Right.
And that happens a ton in these riots. If you remember, President Donald Trump tried to get the National Guard involved in some of these things, and he was called a dictator. He was called Hitler for trying to get the National Guard involved in these Mostly peaceful protests. And if you recall, there still were some rioters who went over the top, who got arrested. And our current vice president, who is Kamala, the Ugandan giant, Harris, she along with some groups, actually raised money to bail these rioters out of jail.
Right.
And it just, I mean, they started putting in these woke George Soros funded protesters that are weak on crime. Castle doctrine doesn't stand in a lot of these places, and they want to completely wipe that out to where you cannot defend yourself. Do you know about the duty to retreat, especially in New Jersey? Do you know if you are in a home in New Jersey and you have an intruder, number one, you have to figure out whether or not they intend to harm you. Because if you just have an intruder in your home in New Jersey and you can't prove that they can harm you, that they want to harm you, they are free to do whatever they want in your house. You can't do anything to them. You can call the police, and that's it. If they don't go in and tell you that they're going to hurt you, they don't even have a weapon on them. They are allowed to break into your house, take whatever they want to, and then it'll be stealing. But they can do whatever they want in your house. They can do whatever. Then they're trespassing. You got to call the police, but you are not allowed to do anything. If they do want to harm you, you have a duty to retreat. Not to shoot them, not a right to self-defense. You have a duty to retreat. You have to run away and abandon your house. The only way you can protect yourself in that situation, in that state, is if you were cornered, there are no exits in the room that you are in, and then the force that you use to protect yourself has to be equal or less than the force that the intruder is using on you.
Right.
So if they are just if they have, I don't know, just a stick in their hand, you can't use anything more deadly than a stick to defend yourself. If you use a gun, in that case, you overdid it. You overdid it. You get arrested, you go to jail, and you got to prove your case in court. Right. And the cops will arrest you there. I told you that story of a woman. It was illegal to conceal carry. She was driving across state borders. This was like in the New York, New Jersey area. And she got pulled over. I don't know. I think her tail light was out. And the cop asked her, and she's certified to conceal carry, everything. She's got her permit. But she says, yes, I have it in the vehicle. It's a permit. And instead of telling, and she was like 5 minutes into the state. Instead of saying, ma'am, you can't do that here in this state. Please go back to your state, leave your gun at your house, and then you can come back. No, they arrested her. Like a 60-something-year-old woman. That cop arrested her. That is not a good cop. Sorry. No. He's not.
Well, I was watching court TV the other day, and it was a trial going on, and there was a lady that concealed carry, but it was legal in that state, wherever it was at, I'm not sure. But they had a guy that was robbing the store. It was some type of store, I don't remember. But that lady was hiding between the shelves. And so he had a few people at gunpoint, and he started to, I think that there was a cashier, started to rough up the cashier, and then a couple of people on the floor he hit and stuff like that. It was getting way out of hand. So the lady went around where she could get a shot on him, and then she pulled her gun and she told him to drop his weapon or she was going to kill him. And when she said that, he turned towards her and he shot, but he missed her because of the way she was, and she shot him and killed him. Well, they were arguing that there's no reason that lady should have had a gun in that store and this and that. The prosecutor, I mean the defense, and but it was ridiculous what what they were saying.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there's the whole thing in New
but
York where they have you have to prove in New York. Now, the Supreme Court did away with that just recently in the past week or two. But in New York, you used to have to prove a reason why you should even carry a weapon, and
right,
and to even get your permit, and then maybe they would approve of that. And there was a woman who worked in a rough neighborhood. She said, "Look, I work in a rough neighborhood. On my walk home at night, I would like to carry. I've taken the classes. You know, I want to get my
yeah,
permit to conceal carry." And they told her, "No, that's not a good enough reason." That's just what they do. When it was those options, like whether they had the option, you could apply, but whether it
right.
was their option to give you one or not. What's up, Chad? By the way, Chad's tuning in tonight. But they
Hey,
would
Chad.
just say no. They would give you the option, but it was never an option. They would never give you the gun, not
Right,
unless you were, in their pockets. Not unless you were their partner or a rich celebrity or something. And even
right.
still, especially in New York, they wouldn't do that. But there's, like I said, I don't think there's any good cops left in these big cities. If there are, and there may be a few, I don't like to deal in
There's probably
absolutes.
a
They
few.
better get out. They better get out now because they're going to be the next ones who end up in this. Is going to be another televised trial, and they're going to go to jail for life for doing the right
Yeah,
thing. For doing the right thing. So
yeah.
if you were a law enforcement officer in one of these big major cities and you still believe in the job and you believe in protecting people, go to a rural area. Get out of the big city. Don't work there because you're going to end up in jail for life. You're going to end up in prison for life.
No number.
So, all right, let's go to this next video here. This is the one. You seen this? The bodega worker.
Yeah,
So I don't know if you know the whole story about this. I think I sent you the one with the news report. So
right.
what we're gonna see is I'll explain it a little bit, then I'll play the video here. But what you're gonna see is the story goes a man who is he's been convicted of several crimes in his past. Some people said he was a career criminal. I didn't look that up to tell you 100% if that was true, but he has been convicted of crimes before. And I think his girlfriend, they're in a store. From what I understood, and this may be embellished a little bit, but she wanted to buy a bag of not nacho Doritos, Cool Ranch Doritos, and she was using an EBT card and it got declined. That's what the story that I heard. And again, I'm not pulling up the article to really go through it because that's not the point that I'm trying to get to in any of this, because this is really just window
She was
dressing. It does.
buying
Go ahead.
it says she was buying a snack for her child, and her card got declined,
Mm-hmm.
and so she didn't have no money. So the clerk pulled the snack out of the child's hand, and she left the store, and then the guy comes in.
So
That's
they
what
had
the
the
report
bag. They had the bag with them because they thought they were just gonna swipe the card and it was gonna go through, and the kid was
Right.
already holding on to the bag, I'm sure, and it didn't go through
Yeah.
when she got declined, and he said, "No, you didn't. Sorry."
Right.
And he took the bag, and because the child was already holding it. So from what I understand, the story goes, the guy comes in. So yeah, she went out. She left the store, and then they came back in with her boyfriend, and he got behind the counter and started pushing and roughing up the clerk. And I think the girlfriend had the knife, and she stabbed the clerk first in the shoulder. And from
Okay,
what
I didn't see that.
yeah, from what
I mean, I
well,
did.
the full report from what I understand is that she stabbed him first, and that's how he got the knife. Because he didn't just have the knife
Okay.
behind the corner. She stabbed him in the shoulder, and then he took the knife out of his shoulder and stabbed the boyfriend in the neck, and then they kind of tumbled to the ground, and he stabbed him like another 4 or 5 times, and the boyfriend bled out and died there. That clerk got arrested. The cops arrested him, and he went to jail on a $50,000 bond for second-degree murder. Now, people seen the video online. There was a bunch of outrage. By the way, this prosecutor, the DA, is a George Soros-funded DA. People got outraged. They started calling the DA out, and he dropped the amount of bond, I believe, to just from $50,000 to $20,000.
Right.
But he's still holding, if I'm not mistaken, and the news could have changed even more by now, but the last I read was he was still keeping that, I believe, second-degree murder charge on. So let's go to the video. Let's watch the video here, and we'll talk more about it. This is from, again, I'm getting this. Everybody has it, but this one is from the Daily Mail. So he's already behind the counter. He pushes him, and the girlfriend's coming in from the side. It's hard to see, but in some, like the shelving on the side, I think somewhere in there, or maybe she's back around the counter over here. At some point, I don't know, he stabs him in the neck right there. It's hard to see here because they're out of range. They come out of the camera. You just see him jostling around, and eventually the clerk stands up, and that other guy doesn't get back up. But clearly, he was just sitting down, and there you see him standing there all full of blood with the knife. Let's go back. I want to go back to the beginning of the video again and just show you. He is sitting, the guy's behind there. Okay, at this point, he gets tossed back. Okay, now he's sitting in his chair. Okay, this is a problem. Number one, it's already a problem because the guy's behind the counter, right? But now he's sitting back. Right. You know what? Hold on real quick. I want people to see, so I'm gonna move my face here to the other side. So he gets pushed back into the chair. So it's already a problem because the guy's behind the counter. But now he just got physically assaulted. He got pushed back into the chair. At this point, it's already assault. Okay? But if the guy turns around and walks away, okay, your life's not in danger. You don't do anymore. Now you just call the police, right?
Right.
You just got pushed. That's all it was. You got pushed. If the guy left now, yeah, it would be wrong to stab him. But does the guy turn around and leave? No. Watch what he does. And then at some point, the guy got stabbed too. The clerk got stabbed by the girlfriend at some point. It's hard to see when this happens because, see, he doesn't have a knife right now. And then all of a sudden, boom. I don't know how he got the knife, to be honest, but they said he got stabbed, and that's what I'd read. He got stabbed by the girlfriend at some point. But he stabbed the guy right in the neck.
Well, it's a classic case of being guilty without being proved guilty. You're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. He's proven guilty before.
But okay. What kind of officer here goes and arrests the clerk? In what case whatsoever? Why would they even consider arresting the clerk? Like I don't.
Well,
That breaks my
okay.
brain.
Number one, the officer probably didn't see the film. Okay,
Okay.
he probably didn't see that.
Right.
So when he gets to the scene, you
But
got a
people don't
man
go to work and
possibly.
just start stabbing people and go, well, he attacked me behind.
Well,
I mean,
I understand, but when you get there, you gotta. You don't know. You're gonna probably hear 100 different stories.
right.
So the best thing you can do. This guy probably admitted, yes, I stabbed him. He assaulted me. Well, okay, but that's for the judge to find out. So what we do, the guy's got to go to the hospital or whatever, and they're gonna keep him. If he lives, he'll probably go to jail too. But the officer can't. You don't have time to demingle everything there. You know what I'm saying? He ain't got time to be judge and jury.
They didn't arrest the girlfriend
So
though.
he's got to take. Well, but this guy probably had blood on him.
Yeah.
The other guy was stabbed.
I
Make the arrest.
let me
and
stop you real quick.
Make
Let me stop you real
okay.
quick. You were making total sense. I'm just gonna poke and prod on the edges to make you make the better case. That's the only reason why I've
Okay.
said that, because I'm making you make
All right.
the good case. So go ahead.
So yeah. So he, the officer. The only thing he can do is arrest the man, bring him in, and let them figure it out because he's not a lawyer. He's probably not an investigator. And they take the guy in. They're gonna arrest him. The charges always can be dropped afterwards.
Right.
After they got the whole story. But you got to kind of end the threat. You don't know. I mean that's what these people are telling you. The guy might have said, just for instance, maybe the clerk let's say the clerk might have knew him or whatever, and they had got into it before, and the clerk just decided to stab him, or you can't believe everybody there,
Right.
because you're gonna have 100 different stories.
Now for that, I totally buy it. I totally buy your explanation. But then, wouldn't you think they would look at the tape? All of those bodegas, everything they have they know there's already on closed circuit TV. They know that. Wouldn't they look at the tape before they charged the man? Now it's not. I'm not talking about the cops anymore. Now I'm talking about the people that put the charges on him.
Well, you can only hold. Without charging them, you can only hold them for a little while. Okay, and you got to investigate all this. So I don't know how long it's going to take. I mean, if they had 100 people in the store, everyone got to be interviewed. You know what I'm saying? It could take a week or two, and you can't hold somebody more than 48 hours without charging them.
The Ville Platte Police Department got rained for that by the Obama administration's, the Attorney General? I forget his name, but they got cracked down on that because they were holding people longer without charging them. Because they were.
They were trying to hold them while they could finish investigating. And, I mean, I know you watch things on Facebook or anything, where you're going to see some people that's telling the cops a story, and it's not, and you saw the whole thing happen, and
well, they lie.
Matter of fact,
they lie their ass off.
Right. One day, you were a kid. You probably don't remember this, but we were on Lincoln Road in Ville Platte. Okay, there were some people, young people, in the back of us. I was driving. I had to stop because there was a church and people were turning into the church. Well, these people never stopped and hit us in the back. It wasn't that hard, but it hit us in the back. And so we got out. I got out to see if there was any damage. and there was a big crowd of people, and they were hollering, I'm gonna say he backed into you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Y'all call the cops. He backed into you, you know? And it was about 30 against me and your mama and you know? And I'm like, we call the cops. But I didn't, but anyway, the guy, the guy said, no, 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 don't worry about it. So there was no damage and we took off. Everything was good. But the people on the side, they were screaming and hollering, go ahead, I'm going to tell him he backed into you.
Wow.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
just
And so that,
people lie, man. You can't trust.
yeah.
You can't trust them. They lie.
So, yeah. So that's probably why the cop took him in. And now the prosecutor, no telling why they charged him. But like I said, it's all got to go under investigation. And once they see all this,
Well, he did drop the bond, but I believe he kept the murder charge on.
right.
Which at this point, with that video released, come on, man.
Well, he's going to charge him for murder, and
it don't matter
and he's
what
going to go to court, and it's going to be self-defense. So he'll probably, you know what I'm saying? If things work out, yeah, he'll be charged with murder. But when he goes to court, they're going to say it was self-defense and go by.
Yeah, but I right now I don't have very much faith in the jury. It depends on where the trial takes place.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's already activists that are lying to get on juries for that very reason, because they use race as a reason to get on juries.
But I mean, the judge can even not, drop the charges when he sees the film. Now, no, if there wasn't any film, it was going to be the clerk's reason against, you know what I'm saying, the girl or who else was in the store. So thank God there was a film that shows everything. I hope they don't get lost.
I still don't see. And you say they have to charge him with something in order to hold them, but man,
to hold them, they can only hold them a certain amount of time.
But it don't take. I mean, it don't take long to get that tape. They know that little store has that tape. It don't take long to go get it and watch it and review, and just simple. It doesn't matter what happened before that tape if they had bad blood or anything, okay?
Right.
And that guy said, well, I wanted to kill him or whatever, blah, 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 blah. When it starts playing, that man isn't trying to kill him. He gets shoved back into a chair and he just sits there and don't do shit. And then the other guy continues to attack him and gets physical with him. Then that's when he stands up and he tries to get away before he even stabs him. Right. So at that point, it's like it can't be premeditated. It can't be. They said, well, he stabbed them too many times. Well, shit. How many times do you know when it's enough? You got to wait till he keeps getting back up and trying to kill you? You know what I mean? You got to wait till he pulls the knife out of your hand and kills you with it? That's the same thing with the cop when they said, the cop shot him too much. They should have only shot him 3 times instead of 7 times. Well, I mean, shit. Half the time you miss.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, well, the cops, they trained, they shouldn't miss. You try to shoot at a running target 8 feet from you. People, he's only 8 feet. Shit. If it's moving and it's 8 feet and it's closing the distance, you better off with a knife than a pistol.
Not only that,
they can hit your hand and knock the gun away.
100 miles an hour. Your heart's pumping 100 miles an hour. The anxiety level is, off the charts.
Why don't they shoot him in the leg? Yeah, you don't know how to shoot a gun or anything. If that's your answer, shoot him in the leg. You don't know anything when it comes to shooting a gun.
Okay. The number one thing, if a man's got a gun and he's shooting, it's stop the threat.
Yes.
Okay?
That's it.
You got to stop it. It's not, let me take his big toe out and see if that's going to stop. No. But
There
yeah,
was
it's process. There's a lot of red tape and everything. And let me tell you, this is the biggest thing. I understand your point. Well, they could just look at the film and they do. Everything's got to go in order and it's got to go state. Let me tell you something. If they go get a good lawyer, okay, say that this guy,
not just a good one, a good one.
not right, a good one, like Harvard or somebody.
Hmm.
Let's say one guy, a thug, robs a bank, shoots, kills half the people in there, okay? And the cops go and they investigate and they arrest him and all that. And you get one of those good lawyers,
Hmm.
and he comes over there and he said, "Well, wait a minute, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do this, you messed up the evidence. So hey, you got to drop the charges."
Yeah.
And they got to drop them. See, so that's why it takes time.
But that's to
'cause everything's
convict.
got to be.
That's to convict.
Huh?
That's to convict. So that it's
Well, but it's evidence.
it is. I agree. I agree with what you're saying, and you're right. But that is also to convict. In this case, they
Right.
are pressing charges on someone who I think is innocent. So it's a little.
Okay.
While it is the same, it also is a degree different because it's. You understand what I'm trying to say? Like it's
Right. Yeah.
to prosecute someone as opposed to exonerate someone
Right.
or
But okay. But the thing is they have to say that that guy was a threat to him. You know what I'm saying? There's
seems
a lot
like
in
it.
that. If they end up screwing something up, it could mess up the whole case.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, but
I get it. I think with
like
the
I said,
time frame, the video is pretty clear. I think with the time frame, there was just no excuse to charge that man. Not
right.
that fast. I don't think he
Well, there
should
was
have
a
been taken.
guy.
I wouldn't have taken him in custody. But
Okay, there
far
was a
be it from
guy.
me. I'm not a police officer.
There was a police officer in Ville Platte. Okay, that got a phone call and said that there was. Well, he's from Ville. I don't know if he's working in the sheriff department, but anyway, got a phone call saying somebody stole a 4-wheeler. Certain area where he was driving there about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
He sees 2 kids on a 4-wheeler, 2 people on a 4-wheeler riding, a guy and a girl. Stops him, starts questioning him. The guy hits the cop, knocks him down, and this is all on his camera. He knocks him down. The cop gets back up. They start wrestling. The girl starts choking the cop.
This was in Mamou, though, I think. I just want to.
Right.
Yeah, this was in
Right.
Mamou, not Ville Platte.
Reaching for his gun.
Mhm.
They were reaching for his gun where he got control of his gun. The gun he shot and ended up killing the guy. But they were both fighting with him, And the cop had to go. I mean, it took months.
Yeah.
But he had his body camera on, and the car had a camera on. So but it took months to exonerate the cop because they said he killed him for no reason and this and that. The girl lied and said that the cop went and stood over him and shot him, and well, they had to prove it was wrong, but it took months and months.
They put Ronald McGee on the news.
Yeah.
Saying, "Oh man, he was such a good guy. It's so bad. He wouldn't do anything like that. It's so sad that we lost such a good guy." Listen, if Ronald McGee calls somebody a good guy, Ronald, if you ever end up watching this, buddy, it's hard to believe you, brother. You've been in and out of jail for the last couple of decades, and you're calling somebody a good guy. I'm sorry, I can't take your word for it. But Ronald McGee, who himself has been in and out of jail, is the one the news puts on saying he's a good guy.
If I'm not mistaken, that guy had just come out of jail because he had took a backhoe and pulled the ATM.
Yes, he was the exactly. He was the guy
and shot at the cops going after him.
Yes. but you see, that's the thing. They have to do. Okay, so again, they have to go through the procedure to exonerate someone.
Yeah.
But in this case, they are slapping charges on someone. Like, I don't see why they need that much attention to detail to slap charges on someone, because they should be conceived of as guilty, as innocent until proven guilty. So it almost seems like they shouldn't have that much procedure. You know what I'm trying to say? It's one thing if the guy looks like an obvious murderer, then you have to go through all of this stuff, and you don't want to fuck it up because he should be exonerated, and you don't want to fuck it up because he would be convicted. But on the flip side, they have to press charges. The natural default state is this guy is free. He's not guilty of anything. So they have to press charges on him. And I don't know, man. Second-degree murders, God, dog.
Look, the prosecutors are going to go, and they're going to dig up everything they can.
Oh, the dirty son of a bitches. Yeah, they will. They're going to try to dig up everything on this man. I think they even took away his passport. He's an immigrant. Yeah. And I believe they took away his passport.
Grade, if he got in a fight,
they're going to bring it up. You know,
he assaulted somebody in the third grade.
I know a guy. I don't want to name name. I will name one name, okay? But I'm not going to name the good guy in the case. But there's a guy I've known almost my entire life. He's from our neck of the woods. And his mother was killed when he was a baby in a drunk driving accident. Now, there was an attorney named Sonny Chapman that was appointed. You know him.
Yeah.
Sonny dug up all the fucking dirt he could and slandered that woman in the court to try and get his client off of a drunk driving fatality that he caused. Now, there was no reason to go into that woman's history for anything, to slander her for anything, because that had nothing to do with the fact that the guy was driving drunk and ran into her car. What did that have anything to do with it? But he went in and he dug up all kinds of freaking dirt. And the guy was just a baby at the time. But I've seen I seen an interaction he had with Sonny Chapman on Facebook like a year or two ago. And he still holds a tremendous grudge. And they had a back and forth, and I mean, everybody was on his side and not Sonny Chapman's side. That's his name, right? Sonny Chapman. I'm not getting that wrong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to name the other guy.
Yes, there is one. Yeah.
I don't want to name the other guy, but it was a pretty big case. You probably in the back of your head. I don't know if you remember the people, but it was a pretty big case in Ville Platte.
Yeah.
But everybody knows Sonny's foo-foo. You know, they all know he's a quack.
But so it's like attention to detail, like I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like I get it, but in this case, it's hard to imagine because they are pressing charges and not trying to take charges off. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's sticky. It's sticky, icky stuff. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how if I don't know how they had to have had that tape. That's what we need to know. We need to know before the charges were pressed, did they have access to that footage? If they
Probably
didn't,
not.
if they didn't, yeah. Because if they had access to that video footage, there's no way you charge him with second-degree murder. I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think any DA worth his weight in,
You normally you think about it. If you don't know, you'd say, why was he even arrested? Why was he even brought in?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do that because you got to follow procedure.
Yeah.
Because any little wrong thing, they'll make you pay.
They'll take away half your budget, like the
Right.
Obama administration did to the Ville Platte Police Department.
Mr. Doward, yeah, they called us, okay? They called us to go and investigate a wreck. Well, we had to check the road out. We had to shoot elevations on the road.
For an accident?
The road had a little dip, okay? I mean, we shot the elevation, and, when they build a road, the specs are supposed to be, they tell you how much, what it's supposed to be, the thickness or what the height of the road or whatever. And it was, man, not even an eighth of an inch off. And what happened, the guy was probably 3 or 4 times the legal limit. And he hit a bridge. He was coming around on the road, and he hit a bridge. And the railing went through his car and cut his leg off. And he sued the state. And his lawyer and them, I guess they went and do the road or whatever, and they found a little flaw in the road.
They blame the damn road.
Yep. And he got a lot of money. Because we were independent to check. And we had to check what they said, and sure enough.
You just had to shoot the elevations. By the way, you're a survey
right.
company, just for those listening that didn't fully get it.
Right. So but any normal person driving would it, I mean, you wouldn't even notice.
Yeah. You said it was less than like an eighth of an inch?
Yeah. Just like nothing. So, but it wasn't the specs.
Yeah.
And his lawyer hired a firm to come and check the whole road, make sure it was right. Wow. Everything was right on it.
That's a hell of a lawyer.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. There's some good lawyers.
I don't know if I'd call them good, but
they're good.
Some MFers for sure.
They know their business.
God, dog. That's wild.
His lawyer is probably one that I called the ambulance chasers.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. My goodness. Woo. Now.
Yep, but they said there was a dip, and there was one.
That's there's a cool article here. I don't know if I don't know if I really want to read this whole thing. It might be too much. If I could read it in a couple minutes, but you know what? Let me get into it, and I might bail out. I don't want to bore everybody here, but this is a cool piece by cityjournal.org. It's written by Thomas Hogan. It came out on July 5th. It's called The Exoneration Hustle. And this plays into everything we've been talking about. So here we go. Let me just read through. I'll try to boom, 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 boom on this. The headline is becoming more common. Innocent man freed after decades in jail for murder. As a matter of statistical probabilities, it must be true that some innocent defendants are convicted. But experienced law enforcement officials are growing concerned that progressive prosecutors are freeing guilty murderers in their rush to enforce their own politics of decarceration and equity. A close look at how this exoneration hustle works is worth reviewing because the pattern becomes clear. The homicide facts usually look something like the following. Two drug crews in the big city USA are having a territorial dispute about who controls a certain street corner. Sam Bam Suber sees rival drug crew member Mark Shark Trowbridge dealing drugs on the disputed corner. Bam drives up in a car, shoots Shark, killing him. The murder is witnessed by a drug addict, a sex worker, and another member of Shark's crew. Bam borrowed the car from his cousin and has been seen with a 9mm handgun by multiple other individuals on the criminal fringe. Because Bam simply drove up, shot Shark, and drove off, police have not recovered the gun. And they don't have DNA or fingerprints. At the trial, the drug addict and sex worker identified Bam as the shooter, with both of them facing unrelated criminal charges for drug possession and prostitution. Shark's buddy, facing a 10-year mandatory sentence in an unrelated drug case, also identifies Bam as the shooter. Various witnesses link Bam to the car and the gun. Bam is convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The scenario describes a typical drug-related murder conviction in the United States. Flash forward 20 years. Bam loses every direct appeal of his conviction. He's now into collateral appeals in federal court, the endless habeas proceedings of a convicted murderer serving life. But suddenly, a progressive prosecutor is elected in Bam's hometown. This prosecutor is a former criminal defense lawyer who believes that no one should do more than 10 years in prison and that all eyewitness identifications are flawed. How does this progressive prosecutor go about exonerating Bam? Burnishing her progressive credentials. First, get the witness to recant. This is fairly easy. The sex worker, drug addict, and Shark's friend all were facing their own charges. 20 years ago, they had an incentive to cooperate with the police back then. Now, that incentive is gone. Moreover, these witnesses often live in the same neighborhood as. Now, the prosecutor can yell about witnesses recanting their statements and how unreliable and some sort of misconduct, or that Bam's defense counsel was ineffective. Time, client out of jail. And it seems everything worked like it should have. And then these prosecutors, so we'll do that. Just remember that. The audio issues earlier this afternoon, and it may still be doing the same thing. So I don't want to go.
The percentage of the men who do so, end of quote. Repeat the line.
Let me just they said, oh, no, he said, let me repeat this line. He meant the video might come out perfect, and the video might. Thanks for that, man.
No problem.
Issue with you with the connection and on the internet or whatever, deep choppiness or anything. Everywhere you get your audio podcasts,